Welcome to Reach the World ASAP. My name is Pastor Scott Griswold. I work with ASAP Ministries. Where would you and I be without the teachers in our lives? Whether you went to public school, church school, or homeschool, think of the impact your teachers had. Some are like giants in our lives. What would we be like without them? 1 in 10 children around the world does not have that privilege. That's according to Global Partnership for Education. 1 in 10, just in primary school alone, that's about 70 million children without a teacher. Maybe there's war going on, so they can't go, or their families are just too poor. The girls never get to go because they're too busy taking care of little brother and sister. Or the boys with not enough food to eat or no encouragement from home keep failing, keep repeating grades, and then finally give up and drop out. It happens all the time, and it's twice as bad in the countryside as it is in the city. Well, that's how Roti would have been if it wasn't for his teacher Soriya. Roti was always in trouble. He wouldn't obey his parents. He wouldn't obey his teachers. He got into a gang of bad girls. No, not bad boys, bad girls, and acted just like them. But Soriya wouldn't give up on him. She'd go to his house and visit him. She'd find him on the streets and encourage him to go back to school. At school, she was always smiling. Who is Soriya? She's the principal, the full-time teacher at our Feed and Read school in Phnom Penh, Cambodia. Soriya was really shy when she first accepted the call to be a literacy teacher. She wanted to help the poorest kids, to help them learn to read and write for the first time. That was clear back in 2003, and she hasn't stopped since. 4 years later, she was one of the first to volunteer when a church planter realized they needed desperately to have a little school for the kids who were pawing through the garbage. So that's how it got started. Just a couple of volunteers and a church planter. Soriya went from hut to hut, asking the parents if they would let their children go to school. Some were grateful, excited for their kids. Some acted mean. They knew that this was a Christian school and they hated her for it. But the children came, and the school's reputation grew. It grew because of loving people like Soriya. It's not very easy to teach in this kind of school. The children are lovable, all right. Most are eager to learn, but many of them come from rough backgrounds. Their parents are quite poor, and many times there's problems in the homes. They often split up, and they may take a job in another province or have to move quickly for some other reason. So it can be really heartbreaking when a student that you love, who is growing so well, changing and developing, suddenly disappears. That's what Soriya has to face. But she keeps loving, and she kept loving Roti. Soon he began to change. He listened at school. He obeyed at home. He was in the 3rd grade and started helping her teach. Teaching what? Teaching Bible to the younger children. That made her so happy, and it made him happy too. So what is Soriya's inspiration? It's the master teacher, Jesus. She loves his stories in the Bible. She loves the way he lived, everything that he taught. And when she thinks about how he loved the children, how kindly he treated the ornery disciples, it helps her to be kind to the children at school, like to Roti. Soriya said recently, I'm growing spiritually because I get to teach the students the Bible and lead them to Christ. She's so glad that people from ASAP Ministries and donors who sponsor these children are often praying for them. Cambodia can be a really risky place for children. Children sometimes are kidnapped and sold as slaves to companies and to brothels. We always kept a close eye on our children when we lived there. And just the other day, Soriya was quite concerned. 2 children were waiting for their dad, who didn't show up to pick them up at 4 o'clock when he usually did. So the little 6-year-old boy and his big sister of 8 years decided to head out by themselves. Nobody saw them go. The dad showed up at 6 and said, "Where are my kids?" None of the teachers knew. All the children had gone home. They were afraid. Soriya called them all together and they prayed. And then they prayed some more. The sun went down. They didn't know where to look. It felt very, very dark. More prayers. And it was 8 p.m. and still no children. And then finally the phone rang. "My kids are safe." It was the very relieved father calling to let them know. The children had got lost. They were all confused. They just sat down by the side of the road and cried and cried. And then a stranger who was coming home from work saw them and stopped along the busy road. "What's wrong?" We don't know how to go home. It was a perfect, terrible opportunity for a bad man. But this was not that kind of a man. He talked to them long enough until together they figured out where their grandma lived. In answer to prayer, they were now safe and sound. Soriya said, "That's why I love Jesus. He loves these children so much. He loves to answer their prayers." She's still a quiet, mild-mannered lady, but now she's also bold for Jesus and determined to help her children. That's why after all these years, Roti has a great future ahead of him. He's now 18 years old. He's been baptized, he's graduated from the Feed and Read School, and has gone on to another private school called the Caleb Center, run by Seventh-day Adventists from Korea. Where would he be without Teacher Soriya? I am so thankful for each of our teachers at our 3 Feed and Read schools in Cambodia, and then the school in the Korean Adventist Academy on the border of Thailand and Myanmar. They're doing such an amazing and special work. Would you enjoy sponsoring one of those teachers like Soriya? Or maybe one of the students like Roti? It's pretty easy. Just go to the Give page on asapministries.org and you will see them smiling at you. It's around $70 a month for a teacher and $20 for a student. Pretty amazing what a little money can do. To share what's happening and how to help, I hope you will like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. I've been so blessed by Christian education, both from my parents and my teachers at school. Jesus was an awesome teacher. It's he who said, "Let the little children come." I'm glad we can pass on that love through these schools. Together, you and I and those dedicated teachers can reach the world ASAP.